Hey y'all. Happy New Year. I hope you can hear me. I am never late and I'm late, but I have good reason. So, first and foremost, I just want to say Happy New Year. Hope you all are doing well. Um, just let me know if you can hear me in the comments. That would be fantastic. Um, but I wanted to share why I was late. Um, well, probably should tell you who I am first. So, for those of you who are new here, I am Krishan Wright. I am the host of the Blaxit Global podcast and the founder of Blaxit Global. Little like disorganized right now, obviously, for those of you who've been following the podcast or following on the socials, this is my Blaxit year. So part of the morning was spent packing. And then some of you who have seen me on other people's channels, like Sheeta's on the Loose, know that I also have been trading as part of my Blaxit. And so I am a student and have been in for some time in Terry Egioma's Trade and Travel. And so there was a community update that I needed to be on, and that kind of bled into my time. So for that, I apologize for being late, but it was important information that I needed to know. And then if y'all are interested in learning more about that, we can talk about that as part of our conversation today. So, hey. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I see there are a lot of people in the chat, and I also see there's a new member, Miss Lorraine, who is a part of our community. Hey, hey, hey. Happy New Year, and thanks for being a member. Whoop, whoop. Hey. So, yes, join our YouTube channel membership. I'll be disclosing more things as the journey continues to unfold. So, definitely want to have y'all as a part of it. So, I want to start by saying, all the hellos. And hey, EDW, how are you? Kim, hey, Kim, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Yes, Lorraine, Miss Channel member, as well as Blaxit Global Passport, our community, which we have accountability groups, which we'll go into. The coding nurses here. Happy New Year. Yes, y'all, 2023 is the year. What? Oh my gosh, 1 week into the year already. Lots has happened. Pamela, hey, Happy New Year to you. Tra or Trey, Happy New Year. Apologies if I mispronounce. Hey, Lynette, how are you? Happy New Year, girlfriend. Yes. And like I said, Miss Lorraine is now a channel member, and you should be too. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Rib on the road. Hey, you caught it live. Hey, thanks for being here and coming on a Saturday. Y'all I've got a team about to graduate and all that other stuff. I think once I'm like in Portugal and settled, I can get to a consistency on YouTube, but it's important to be balanced. Then we'll talk about a lot of that. We'll talk about a lot of that. Yeah, so Abdul said you can hear me. Thank you so much for confirming. Glad to have you here. And midlife money moves. Greta. Oh, see, I like the name, Greta. I see you. I see you, Greta. I see you. Okay, now. Happy New Year, my dear. All right. Making my way down. I see Winnie B in the place to be. Hey, Happy New Year, Winnie. Hey. Oh, DW says my sound is perfect. Awesome. I was like trying to, I had the Zoom call, and then like my computer's memory is like struggling right now because the podcast takes up a lot of space. And, the new season is out. Hope you already have been listening. And I'm editing. And so all these things, and my computer's like, girl, when you bought me, you didn't have a show. Now you got the show and all these people's conversations. So I had to like get off of that, then try to do my setup real quick and fix my face. So, I'm hoping I'm hoping everything looks the way it's supposed to look. Just put it that way. I usually am not up until like right before I go live. But like I said, this was part of the money, right? We talk about the money and the money plan. And so, I had to make sure I knew what was going on in Miss Terry's program, which, like I said, we'll be talking about. I don't even have all my links that I normally have at the ready, but look, this is like this is family time. So, we're gonna give each other some grace. Um, Twin mommy Denise says she can't believe it's already. Let me tell you, I can't believe it either. I was conversing with Deirdre today, Deirdre Omola, who you all know is my first guest on the Blaxit Global podcast. Her birthday was yesterday, so we were just catching up. And, anybody who knows me on any given day, I'm having conversations. I pretty much stay connected with most of my guests. So some are in Asia, some are in Africa, we're always conversing. And so, Dee and I were able to touch base, and she was like, girl, it's 2023. Like, we've been on this conversation for a couple years, and like, it seems like it was just yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, considering, and I did that in a post the other day where it came up in my stories on January 3rd, 6 years ago, in 2016, right? Am I wrong? No, 17. Math, New Year, was the first day that I landed in New Zealand. Some of y'all that follow me on the socials saw that shot. I think that caused a little bit of confusion because it was, I think, Instagram had truncated some of it because the caption was too long. So I don't think it was 100% clear that I was not actually in New Zealand. That was a picture from 6 years ago. But it was a picture of me when I first arrived at my Airbnb, jet lagged as all can be, but my smile just was like beaming after 28 hours and 45 minutes worth of flying to another part of the world that I hadn't been, but I had always wanted to be in since I was a little girl growing up in the Bronx, and made that dream a reality. you know, Left the kids in the US and got on a plane, my first solo trip. Um, and it was just magical. That 3 weeks or so that I was in New Zealand, time with myself, learning about myself. I thought I was going to stay on the beach for 3 weeks, and I did some of everything, you know, um, zip lining. I'm afraid of heights. Uh, no, I didn't paddleboard. Oh, kayaked, and I don't know how to swim. And let's see, zip lining. I hiked a volcano. Drove on the other side of the road because everything's opposite. Drove cross country. I mean, it wasn't things that I set out to do in terms of like, oh, pre-planned, blah blah blah. No, it was like I woke up one day and I was like, oh, what do I want to do today? I went glowworm caving in a cave, deep, 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 deep under the earth. And I actually should post that shot one day, where I am deep, 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 deep in the earth. And you can see like trees and roots way above me. And I'm deep, 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 deep down in the dirt, in the cave. There was fresh water though, with a lamp on my head looking for glowworms. Like, crazy, right? Like, I can go on and on. And if y'all want me to talk more about New Zealand, I will. But I'm not going to go on a tangent because that's not what you came here for. But um, it's just hard to believe that, in a way, that a promise I made to myself before I left New Zealand and came back to the States, that this is coming to fruition, a goal that I had set in 2017. But a long, 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 many decades desire is coming to fruition. So it's a magical year. And I hope it is equally, if not more so, magical for you. Um, all right, let me try and catch back where I was. um, Coding nurse. Oh my gosh, I have to check out your channel. So let's see. Blah la la la. Alicia's here. Hey, Alicia, how are you? How are you? Yes, yes, yes. Lorraine, one day at a time, my dear. Very true, very true. Uh, is that Margaret? I see you, Margaret. Hey, Margaret. Happy New Year. How are you? It's good. It's good. Have I found a place to live, Greta? Mm-mm. No, I was just messaging yesterday my friend who is in Portugal. You probably seen that picture in my 2022 kind of like travel recaps. We spent the day together in Nazaré, and she's like, "It's here," and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I just need an apartment." So still working on that. I still have a few months though before I have to uh, get there on that piece, but get in there, get in there. But no decisions there. I think, and y'all let me know in the comments. I want to let me know how much Portugal content you want, right? Of me sharing the journey, because I just don't want to like bombard you with Portugal content if that's not something that you're interested in. You want things more broadly, but this is my year, and so there's a lot going on. But yeah, and like I think where's my head leaning towards is to keep it clean. Maybe just do the Portugal deep dive for the channel members so that the rest of y'all aren't inundated with like all of my my shenanigans, how to get this podcast there, all them episodes out, pack up a house, graduate the child, move her, move me and the dog, all that fun stuff. Um, yes, the new season 5 is out as of January 2nd, unless you are a member of Blaxit Global Passport, our community, or you are a member of the channel, you get access to the content earlier. And so, yes, the new season is out. We kicked it off with a bang with Kirsten and Julian Saunders of the Rich and Regular podcast. I am a super, super fan of them. I saw them first a few years ago in the Firestarter documentary series. It's on YouTube. And their perspective was just very fresh and it was impactful. And so even as a singleton and I'm seeing this couple, I'm like, wow, you know what? They have got some great information. So then I just became, a regular listener and follower. And they released their first book last year, Cashing Out, Win the Wealth Game by Walking Away. That was our summer reading list, one of the books on our summer reading list. It became a book club selection in our Blaxit Global Passport community. And then I was really blessed to have the conversation with them. That is the season 5 premiere. And so definitely encourage you to get the book, subscribe to their podcast, get looped in, join their email list. They release a lot of great content. But I think for many of us, we struggle with how to structure our career or our money and thinking about all of those things in the proper context. And so I think we had to kind of like distill a bunch of conversations or a bunch of issues rather into a 45-50 minute conversation. But I hope that for you were able to get the information that you need, maybe whet your appetite and do a deeper dive. But like I said, every Monday, I don't miss one of their episodes. I'm super fans. And so I was fortunate to have them on the show. And y'all have been responding well to that episode. My goodness. I looked at the stats. I think it popped The podcast is now number 96. I was like, oh, look at me on the charts. I think last year my Spotify roundup wrapped, I think it was like Blaxit Global was in the top 10% of podcasts. Go figure, right? This podcast that I started not knowing any Black expats, that I recorded in my closet in the middle of a global pandemic when we were all on lockdown, not thinking anybody was listening. And look at God. So that's a sign. Like whatever's on your heart, don't let your head talk you out of, right? Don't let your head talk you out of. Sherrod is here. Hey, homie, you made it. You made it live. So glad you're here. Our men's group is going to be coming back. I have something in my eye. Our men's group is going to be coming back, which is led by Michael Ruth. He was also one of the top episodes from last season. So he leads our men's group, and the feedback has been amazing. Just want to get more men to participate. And so you're a guy, you're watching, come on in. We've got space for you. Lauren is here. I just wanted you to know that I appreciate you and all the work you do pouring into this channel and providing a safe space. Aw, thank you. To think outside the box with embracing a new reality for us in life. Thank you. That is so, so thoughtful. And it means a lot. It really does. You know, when as a content creator, which I've now accepted as part of my identity, it's just you don't realize, I'm insular, right? I'm here and I'm pushing this stuff out, what I think is important. And just getting that feedback lets me know that I'm on the right path and that it's doing what is meant for it to be, right? It's something to inform and inspire. And I'm a huge fan of inspired action. And so, what I want you to hear in the voices and stories that you listen to, whether you are listening to the podcast or consuming content on, our YouTube channel or our other social handles, or the website. There's actually a lot of content on the website. Some of them I haven't been pushing out. I'll push out some more. We've had some guest writers as of late. And so that has been a wonderful addition because I kind of felt like the blog was waiting on me to always write. And I don't always have the time because, right? It's like leading the group and doing the show. And so I'm glad to have other people pinch hitting for me. And so please definitely, if you're not already on our mailing list, join the mailing list. Go on our website. You'll see some great content. There's a new article, fingers crossed, that'll be coming out tomorrow. I just have to give it one more read from a guest contributor, and then I'll be sharing that this week. And the next episode of the podcast is on the 16th. First couple episodes actually is dedicated to like money. They kind of like build on each other. The season is very different with intention. It is very intentional in that regard. Hey, Orletta. Hey, how are you? You're cooking lunch? Ooh, hope you're cooking something good. Ooh. I just ate because I try not to go live on an empty stomach. Y'all don't want to see that. Yes, New Zealand. That's my happy place. I went in 2017. I went again in 2020, right before lockdown. Made it back just in time, which probably is like, good and bad. But yes, it will always be my happy place. And I look forward to coming back. So Greta says she wants more of the Portugal content. Yes. So I will. Actually, it's a nice segue. For those of you who have not seen, let's see. Let me close one window and let's see how these internets is behaving. So for some of you who don't know, I penned an article for Condé Nast World Traveler, and it is retiring in Portugal, the complete guide. And so I was asked to write this article um, right around the holiday, and I was honored, of course. And and shout out to Lynette for being, my ace. But and also shout out to the wonderful contributors. We had Heather from Black in Portugal. She shared her journey. Rick and Halisi, as some of y'all know from Our Black Utopia, who actually will be in season 5. I will tell you that, as well as Natalie, who you already are familiar with if you watched our Moving Abroad Over 50 panel. Natalie was one of the guests, and so she was so kind to share her journey, and she's on the Silver Coast of Portugal. And so I just felt like being asked to write this article, it was really important for me to highlight not the typical, like, you know, kind of groups that people would glean to. It was really to showcase the incredible stories and journeys of such wonderful people. So I'm really honored. Like I said, I will pop it right here. Be sure to tag Blaxit Global and CN Traveler. That's their handle, Condé Nast Travelers handle. So, they can keep asking me to do stuff. Right. And I'm like, ooh, I got me a byline. So I was very happy yesterday. I was running around the house, and I probably should bask in it a little bit more, but I was just like, okay, I'm sharing it out. I'm sharing it with my family. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what a wonderful way to like start off the new year. And kind of leads into our conversation today about goal setting. And I haven't even put the banner up or nothing, but just we're gonna roll with it. About, Stephanie had a video on her channel about certain thoughts or dreams that you kind of let die on the vine. And so once upon a time, um, without going too far into my story, once upon a time I used to write. So I'll give you like the 2 minute, I hope, version. So long story short, once upon a time I was in politics, and I used to work in the New York State legislature for the beginning part of my career for a long time. And I would write, but I was always writing for like, you know, well, press releases or bills before the floor or things related to the member I was supporting or the speaker, which subsequently. And so I was always writing as someone else, either Orthodox Jewish man or a Black man. Those are the two people that I supported as members of the legislature. And so it was never really writing as me. I'm always writing as someone else. And so fast forward to 2008, 2009, and I was married at the time. We had lost our jobs, and I was like, oh, you know what? This sucks. Let me just write this blog. And I was just writing as myself for the first time. And the blog was up. It was called Diary of a Displaced Worker. You won't find it because it's not there anymore. But the blog was up maybe 3 or 6 days, not even a week. And I had gotten an email from, which I can't remember which one came first, chicken or the egg. I think it was MSNBC or CNN, one of them reached out, and I was like, huh, is this a prank? Like, first time I ever write as myself. And they're like, oh, we Googled you and know about your political background, want you to come on to the show. I'm pretty sure it was CNN. Because I wound up on both shows. That's why I don't remember which order. It was like, oh, we want you to come on and watch the President Obama's speech before Congress, his first address to the nation, and to write your opinions, your thoughts about it on your blog, and then come on the show. It was CNN because it was Tony Harris at the time, and come on the show. So I'm like, is this real? Right? I'm like, I'm in my house in New Jersey, can't pay my bills, gotta feed my babies. And y'all want me to do what? Come on now, for real. So I'm like, all right, fine, let's play along. So I go and I do it. And I remember I had a job interview like after, and I said, oh, I have this job interview later in the day. Can y'all give me a ride back to Jersey? Because literally I had no money, no money. And they're like, okay, sure. So they give me a ride. And I'm thinking, like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Like, what happens? So I show up at this job interview, which I wound up getting because they thought the story was so crazy. And I show up with like 25 pounds of TV makeup, which is very different than everyday makeup. And yeah, and then I had this like little run where I was like on these like shows for a little bit. Actually, so there's a couple of people that still follow me from that time that messaged me recently. And so that was kind of like the beginning of writing. And then I let it die on the vine. And I really have not written that much ever since until this happened. And so I guess it's a sign as I go and approach this new chapter of life that I should revisit a talent, a skill that I had let slip away. So that was probably over 2 minutes, but hopefully I didn't lose y'all in the process. Hopefully I didn't lose y'all in the process. Um, so yeah, so there's all this information in the article, links. Hey, Robin. Hey. Robin and I go way back. Oh my gosh. Hey, glad you could join. Um, yeah, there's a lot of information in that article. There's links. Y'all know, I think I've talked about it before. I'm doing Portuguese with Carla. That is in there. Border, you have a 10% discount in Blaxit Global as part of our community. And y'all let me know if you need any links because I can start dropping stuff, but I don't want to inundate the chat because I see y'all having conversations too, but let me know. Um, and then I saw, oh, girl Mel is what selling all your stuff. Where are you selling stuff? Because I went downstairs in one of my closets today and I was like, oh, these shoes. And I said, well, these shoes I hadn't worn maybe like once or twice. And then I was like, well, should I sell them? I mean, I know I'll never wear them again, but I was like, oh, where do I even sell them? Because I have big feet, y'all. I wear a size 11. So I was like, who gonna want these big old size 11 Cole Haans? Um, so, but let me know. I was like I said, literally packing. I've been packing for months. I do a box or two a weekend, and that's intentional so that I don't get overwhelmed. Um, but and that's like my little tidbit for y'all is do it in a way that works for your life and doesn't cause stress, right? Because this should be about, it's not to say that the journey is going to be linear or there aren't going to be speed bumps or roadblocks along the way. It's to keep you at your best mental state in preparation. So hopefully that helps. Yes, Margaret is going to Portugal in September. Oh, and Greta says she saw Rich and Regular on Firestarters. Yes, that is great. If you get a chance, definitely search it on YouTube. It's a great series. Hey, Danielle, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, Malcolm, another one of our Black Global Passport. Yes. Men's group. Yes, it's great. And Michael is great. Yes, we do need more brothers in the group. So, y'all, I created this men's group because I wanted to serve the community. I want to make sure that, I know that the Black travel community kind of, at least the voices, tend to skew more female than male. But there's a lot of great male content creators, but what I haven't seen is a community. And I know y'all, your needs are different than ours. And so I wanted to do this as a way to address those in the best manner possible. But we need your participation. And so I want to make sure that I'm being respectful of Michael's time as well as everyone who shows up for it. Hey, Hello, hello, Christina. How are you, my dear? Yes, yes. Do you know of any communities for mother and child living abroad? Hmm. Yes, actually, depending on where you're looking to move abroad, there are a bunch of groups. There's some subgroups for Portugal, Mexico. There's pretty much any country. If you type in like families or moms, there's an offshoot. I've seen quite a few, but mostly in the bigger, kind of destinations, like Portugal, like I mentioned, Mexico. It may be a little challenging as you get to some parts of the world. Um, but like I think Singapore, anywhere where it's like more densely populated, I think you'll do well there, finding communities. But yes, definitely for sure. Um, thank you. All right. I think I got through most of the comments. Apologies. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at the time. I know y'all like, what is this chick doing? um, oh, Patty's here. Hey, I'm gonna forgive you for misspelling my name, but I'm so glad you're here. You're not the first. Oh yeah, Rashida and Exodus. Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, they have been great. Stephanie and Rashida have both been on the podcast. Y'all know they've both been on this platform. Every year we do a little something something around Exodus Summit time. So it is they're great. They're great women. And I love what they're doing for the community. I definitely am a believer of a rising tide lifts all boats, and we are stronger together. And that is something that for any of y'all, and I'm definitely an introvert. But I feel like I've been the most expansive in my growth once I made the decision to create Blaxit Global. I didn't have the vision that I was going to reach people around the world or even make these connections with, people. Oh my Lord. In my preparation for today, I did not put my phone in do not disturb. And oh, little spam caller. We live. So, enjoy this on the replay. Um, so, Tanisha is here. Hey, hey, hey. So, let's get to it. We talked about goal setting. Y'all know this is my Blaxit year, even with a huge preamble. Wanted to, and I jotted down some notes because, I'm sure it's a trend, right? New year, everybody's new year, new me. I'm going to work out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And, set some goals. And I love setting goals, right? But what I have realized as part of this journey and being in deep reflection for several years, when I look at my evolution and, it's, as long as I'm living and breathing, it's going to be an ongoing thing. What I recognize is that I want to kind of take it and, goal setting related to Blaxit and moving abroad, and kind of turn it on its head a little bit. And so hopefully y'all will be able to indulge me. And I'm just looking at my notes just to make sure that I haven't missed anything that I wanted to kind of get into that first half. So you probably have heard this 9 million times, right? And when you think about goal setting, it is setting SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, or achievable, realistic, and time bound. And while that is a nice framework to think of or think about, I kind of want to break it down in different parts. And so, what I want to do is instead of speaking at you, I would love for this to be as interactive as possible. That's how I work best. I feed off of your energy. And so, I wanted to start off by an assessment because one of the things that I struggled with as I was writing down like the acronym and SMART goals was that for me, it felt like attainable slash achievable, the A, and realistic were kind of the same. And so I don't know if it was like the A and being, attainable and achievable was for alliteration purposes or what, but it felt like they were too close. And so for me, while it doesn't like work in terms of an acronym, I felt like an assessment was a great starting off point for today's conversation. So, um, instead of starting off with, um, "Oh, Katrina's here. Hey, one of my trading travel cousins. Hey, trading cousin, Katrina, you made it." Yes, Katrina and I, we were the big winners in our accountability group. All right, I digress. We will get back to that, but I'm so glad you're here. Assessment. So, in before we get into what you want to do in terms of your goal for the year or goals, right? I want you to use this as a framework. Let's think about and start with what has prevented you from achieving your goals in the past. So, for example, if you're thinking of, hey, I want to, save X amount of dollars or lose X amount of pounds or whatever goal that is, right? Move abroad. What were the things, if you could take an assessment of what didn't work for you in the past, what was it? Was it like a lack of motivation? Was it a factor that was outside of your control, something you couldn't foresee, like a global pandemic, for one example? Like, let me know. Drop it in the comments. If you have had trouble achieving a goal or goals in the past, let me know what hasn't worked for you. I can start it off. For me, I kind of sometimes start with the best of intentions, and then whatever, sometimes something external would happen and it would sidetrack me. And then it would prevent me from kind of getting back on track. It might be like, oh wow, it's going to be that much longer. It's going to be that harder. And so for me, sometimes when it can take one little thing, and sometimes they're little things and sometimes they're big things that prevent you from uh, reaching your goal, getting sidetracked. So to that, so thank you, Sharon or Sharon. I'm going to give you both pronunciations. Lack of confidence, vulnerability. Thank you. Thank you for being honest about that. Yeah, lack of confidence or vulnerability is can be a hindrance to reaching your goal. And the reason for that is your brain really wants to keep you safe and safe at all costs. We talk about, fight or flight. If you're sensing danger, etc., your body is gonna, allow you to run or do something that keeps you out of harm's way. Well, that same ability, even when there isn't a physical present danger, can short circuit you at the wrong time. And so that can show up as, oh, you know what? You shouldn't do this because what will people think? Right? That's a story that your mind has told you that undermines the essence of who you are, the self. And so sometimes for myself, I can say, my zodiac sign is Cancer. I have a tough exterior shell, a wall that sometimes I don't let people in, but inside, it's like that all mushy center, when you get the crab open, you get the crab meat, and it's like all that good stuff. And so it's like, oh, well, I'm going to try and protect the center. And while that can work if it's a threat, what winds up happening is your brain will always default to what's working. So if you've had success in being kind of insular or protective or not going too far, right? Not stretching yourself too far because of the unknown, while it might help you if there was a danger or a threat, it's not a sustainable way of moving forward in life because it's always going to keep you from reaching where you could be. And so it's almost like you're putting your hand out and you see what you want, but you can't quite grasp it because you're unsure. And so for that, I want to kind of encourage you to take an honest assessment and look and reflect on times where, you haven't quite been able to grasp the brass ring and what has held you back. Is it something real, or was it a story or a trauma from the past that has prevented you from moving forward? And so, one of the things that I think has been really helpful for me in my preparation for my Blaxit journey has not been saving this amount or packing the house or all of these other things. It has been intentional goal setting that I've done year by year to get me to a certain point, the point that I'm at now. And so that's what I would offer to you. And I appreciate you for being so vulnerable and sharing, right? Because I think, when we do things and we take risks, we are able to achieve and sometimes surpass our wildest dreams. It's just having faith in yourself. Um, so I think that's really important. And I'm just reading, let's see. Oops. I made work a priority instead of myself. Wow, that's another one. Thank you for that, Kim. Yes, sometimes people will make a decision to put work, children, anything other ahead of our own needs. And so I've realized along this journey that there are aspects of my personality where it's like people pleasing. But like I said, I see as other people can show up as, oh, you know what? I know I want to take care of myself. I know I should do X, Y, and Z, but it's easier for me to do work. It's easier for me to focus on this task, and focusing on this task or this role or this job. Remember, the brain defaults to what it gets rewarded for. If you are pouring yourself into work, even if you are working 40, 60, 70 hours a week, right? You're getting into the danger zone in terms of output, but you're getting rewarded, right? With more money, more responsibility, atta girls, atta boys, right? What does your brain say? Oh, more of, right? Oh, wait, I get this title. Oh, wait, I get the salary. Oh, wait, I get, people to supervise or whatever. If you're starting to get rewarded, sometimes it's very hard to pull yourself out of that and then say, oh, I have to put the oxygen mask on myself. I need to take a vacation. I need to take a career break. I need to spend more time with my family. It's hard for you to see the forest through the trees when there are so many things that are distracting you, right? You're in the middle of a hurricane and it's spinning so fast, but it doesn't give you time to realize, like, oh, you know what? Things are spinning out of control. There isn't balance in life. So thank you for sharing that, Kim. Working my way down. So Lorraine says, asking what can sidetrack me helps me create a system to achieve the goal. Yes, yes, systems are important. It's having that ability to do a self-assessment, because I think it's, again, love the fact that it's goal setting season, but instead of like jumping in and setting, a New Year's resolution or a goal and then not hitting it and then wondering like, oh, wow, negative self-talk. Oh, gosh, I must not be this, or, blah, blah, blah. That's not helpful. Let's do and start with an assessment of what is going on, and then it can help you move forward. Patty says, one of my biggest things is being disciplined and consistent, working systems steadily. Yes, thank you. In some areas, I'm very disciplined, and in others, not. Also, perfectionism. Perfectionism. I have yet to meet a perfect perfectionist, but I think I think I really healed and improved in 2022. Congratulations. And that's the part of the process, is the awakening. It's not to be critical of yourself. It's to say, okay, I know I strive for perfection, and how has that not been serving me? Right? It's not to be critical about yourself. It's just to say, okay, where is that need for perfection coming from? Oftentimes, these needs are rooted in an incident or something from the past. And so by returning to whatever that is allows you to really honestly sometimes the distance of time can allow you to have a different perspective from it and say, okay, how can I honestly assess and grow here? And the reason why this is so important relative to goal setting as well as moving abroad is because when you are on this journey, you can have all the community support around you, but guess what? Doing the packing, doing the visa stuff, whatever it is, getting on that plane, being around new people, you are going to have periods of aloneness. And moving can be geography, right? You can move somewhere and then still have the same issues or same patterns show up. But when you take that honest assessment of yourself, then you can say, okay, what are the things that I want to keep that I like? What are the things that have been challenging and problematic? And are there patterns? Are there defaults in is my default behavior working for me or working against me? And if it's working against me, how do I be vulnerable and try a different approach, right? And then if it is something that's working for you, how do you do more of that and then less of the other thing? Again, it goes back to that whole default vulnerability and shell. If your tendency like mine is to like clam up, well, how can you start to say, okay, how do I override that, learned behavior? Is it now saying, wait a minute, I have a voice, right? I can use my voice and I can articulate what's going on and allow yourself to be vulnerable and communicate your feelings. And that kind of releases you from perfectionism. If you're being perfect because you don't want to hear criticism, is it giving yourself the script so that you are able to communicate to someone that, hey, this is an area that I'm struggling with, or I want to grow in this area? Like, this is how you're able to kind of break free from some of these habits and behaviors that don't serve you or haven't served you, or allow you to expand and stretch in a different direction. So, thank you for sharing that. I'm glad you've been making progress with it. I love it. Y'all are great. Y'all are great. This community is amazing. So Malcolm says, I get stuck when I'm trying to do new things. Sometimes I'm not sure what to do. It stalls me. I don't always know how to keep moving. Yes, sometimes procrastination can occur. And oftentimes that's rooted in, again, the brain being protective, fight or flight, right? It doesn't want you to put the hot hand on the stove. And so it can say, hey, Malcolm, I know you want to try that thing, or hey, this is the thing you should be doing. And you're like, oh, right? It's going to take a long time. It's going to do this. Am I ready? All of these things are kind of running in the background. And so your brain's like, hey, Malcolm, don't worry about that. Look at that squirrel. And then you're off to something else. And then what happens? You actually end up not getting the thing done because again, it's still trying to protect you by not doing it, right? It's like, well, if you don't accomplish it, then it's just like, okay, well, I didn't really put that much effort into it, right? You can rationalize these things, but then again, you're not making any progress. So, one of the things that I'll offer to you, and I actually had to use it today, which I wasn't sure if it was going to come up, was there's these, packing, and I had this one area that I was kind of making progress in, and then it kind of fell by the wayside in the holidays. And I was looking at it before the live, and I was like, oh, I'll get to it. And the task wasn't, even though I know I had to get it done, it was just getting to a point where I was getting overwhelmed and frustrated and diverting myself by doing other things. And I had to take a step back and say, okay, you know what? Time bound goes back to the SMART goals, right? Is I set a time. I said, okay, I'm going to give myself 10 or 15 minutes to make as much progress as I can on this task. And then I'm putting it away. By doing that, you short circuit your brain, right? It's like you now have accomplished something. You might not have cleared the whole thing or whatever that task is or activity that you wanted to do, but you had some sense of achievement and you satisfied that. And again, by doing as much as you committed to do in a short amount of time, it's enough to reinforce your brain that, hey, job well done. All right. You know what? We can pick up where we left off at another time. So I offer that to you as a tool in your toolbox to, like I said, I struggle with this area myself at times. And that is one skill and tool I've been using as of late that has helped me overcome that hump. I have to do stuff for the business taxes. I hate that part, but I know in order to do my personal taxes, I need to do it, right? Same thing. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to set the timer, do this for whatever, 20 minutes, half an hour. That's as much as I'm going to do. But again, it gives you a sense of accomplishment because now you've made an agreement with yourself. And we'll get into kind of agreements in a little bit, but hopefully that's helpful. I see y'all are so supportive to one another. I love this. Um, Girl, Mel, self-confidence has prevented me in the past. Yes, yes. I think we can all relate to this one. You know, a lack of self-confidence. And again, it goes into reflection. And I've been returning to journaling, which is something that sadly, I guess it's kind of like writing that I let go for far too long. But I encourage you to do that as a way to kind of unpack where did that occur? Um, is there an incident, a story, or a belief that reinforced this lack of self confidence? If you can identify where that happened or areas or patterns where that shows up, then you can say, okay, in these environments, I tend to get very fearful or anxious or don't have confidence. And then think of times where you have been successful and have exuded confidence. And so what has been different? I think if you take a step back and allow yourself a few minutes to kind of deconstruct that, you'll start to see like, okay, you know what, in these environments I behave this way, so it might be around a certain group of people, it might be in larger environments, but um, I offer that to you, or again, something that has happened in the past. And so diving into it and getting some perspective will help you solve the puzzle and help you identify how do I start to build that confidence up? What are the things that I'm successful at? And then again, giving your brain something to pull back from, not the negative self-talk. It's all going to be about positive reinforcement. Hope that helps. So Tramisha says, fear. Fear. Yes, fear is a dream killer. You know, I guess like I said, the brain is a complex organism. It can work for us or it can work against us. And one thing that I realized is um, when our minds are um, like untrained, like, right, we get more discipline about identifying, where that fear is rooted in. Um, because fear, again, is a protective thing. If your brain will default to, remember, not putting your hand on the stove, um, if it perceives that it will cause you harm. And so where there's no frame of reference, it's like, oh, moving abroad to that other part of the world, or getting on a plane and going to some country where you don't speak the language. Some people were like, oh my gosh, that was terrifying me. Other people like, oh, what? That's a breeze, right? Both people, right? But their fear may show up in a different way. And so you have to examine, is it realistic, right? Where is this fear coming from? Where does it sit in the body, right? Is it creating, a chest tightening and things like that? That'll allow you to have a greater sense of mindfulness And so what I offer to you is the ability, and if you're in our passport community, there's a great workshop that Esther did. Esther was on the podcast in season 3, I think, or season 2. Esther was my accountability partner, and she's a writer, and she does a lot of mindfulness practices and writing practices in Bali. And so she did a wonderful session. So um, definitely listen to that episode, or if you join our passport community, you'll have access to that workshop. But I think that will help you kind of figure out and how to center. And so you might have to do some things to ground yourself when you're feeling fearful. It's like, okay, what are the things that are comforting, are protecting, but yet enable me to move forward? Might be taking a bath, having some chamomile tea, going for a walk. That's one thing that I've realized for me. Moving my body helps me get over fear and anxiety and when I'm in my head too much. And when I don't get that ability to just take a brisk walk and, kind of just, process thoughts. Um, it puts me in a tailspin, can. And so again, once you're able to kind of say, okay, what is making me fearful? Where is that coming from? Is it something real or is it something perceived? And then identifying it, writing it down, and then you're able to kind of like name it and say, okay, is this a like legitimate thing that I should be worried about? Am I worrying about something that has an undetermined outcome? Or am I worrying about this because I'm operating from a place of wanting to control? Or am I coming from it from a place of wanting to know with a high degree of certainty? And if anything we learn about this journey in life, there is nothing that is 100% certain. And so, what I think that'll be helpful is getting into some mindfulness practices. This is probably not what y'all signed up for. Y'all said, "Oh, this goal setting session." Y'all ain't know it was gonna be this deep, did you? Ha! Um, but that's how I roll. That's how I roll. I can't go as like deep in the show because I'm mindful of the fact that of my own podcasting consumption behavior habits. People won't listen to that for long periods of time. Patricia is here. Patricia is here. Hey, Patricia, how are you? Yes, Patricia from Brooklyn. Hey, how are you? Thank you for coming. Um, I'm just catching up on the comments. Uh, colonizer lies. Yeah, we don't want to listen to colonizers. No, nope, nope, nope. We had enough of that. Um, Okay, so some of y'all just having conversations with each other. That's great. So I want to go into the next point. So we talked about what has prevented you in the past, right? So let's talk about what has worked for you in setting goals. And so if you set a goal and you've achieved a goal, what has worked? And I know like Lorraine had talked about systems. I know Patty had talked about it. And so and then how are you when things are working, right? What are the things that have helped your environment? And so if you've achieved a goal, what worked? So it could have been setting up a system, getting disciplined. Okay, break it down even further. So what was the system that helped you develop discipline? So, for example, I read last year Atomic Habits by James Clear. Everyone talks about this book, and I read it last year. And it wasn't really until I would say this year that I kind of fully went on in implementing it. But what I realize is it's like when he talks about like habit stacking, it's when you're able to create a system or get disciplined and develop a certain muscle. Remember, if you think about working out, you might want to have, I don't know, six pack abs or lose 5 pounds or whatever, right? You'll go walk around the block. You don't get on the scale a couple hours later and say, oh my gosh, why did I lose 5 pounds, right? It's the consistency, it's the repetition, it's doing it over and over for a longer period of time that develops a habit. And then you're able to see the results. And the results come from compounding. And so when you think about that in terms of, developing what works, it's helpful to see when people say systems, sometimes it just seems so big. And so how can you think about it in a meaningful way, in an actionable way, is to kind of break it down and say, how can I, if my goal is, let's say, to lose 5 pounds, how can I break it down? How can I habit stack? Okay, well, if I see my area of opportunity isn't necessarily physical activity, right? Maybe it's snacking at night. What do I need to do in order to eliminate that or reduce it? Do I need to eat more fiber or consume fiber during the day before bedtime so that I don't want to snack at night? Or if it's a lack of physical activity, then it's how can I commit to doing an extra 500 steps a day or 1,000 steps a day or getting outside for 5 minutes, right? Whatever that is, you can say, oh, you know what? Every time I have to take the dog out X amount of time a day, instead of walking around the block once, I'm going to commit to walking around the block an extra lap, right? Because now I've stacked that habit. It's something that I've already am doing. I'm just adding on to that. And then again, over time, compounding, you get the results, right? The 5 pounds goes down, right? So it's deconstructing it and seeing where do you go awry, and then understanding, we're not shooting for perfection. So if there's a time where you can't, it's not turning into, oh, well, you didn't do it, you're lazy, you're this, right? These are all things that are not serving you. And these are things that are keeping you from getting your goal. Think about ways that you can turn it to a positive. You can say, hey, you know what? Sometimes it's necessary for you to have a day of rest. Tomorrow's a different day, right? It's kind of figuring out if your default behavior is negative self talk, understand how you can change that script and turn it into something positive. And again, it's not something that's going to happen overnight where you're like, oh, I heard it one time, I said this to myself. It's to say, okay, whenever you do this, right, that's not serving you, do this instead. And again, just adding things to your toolbox so you can pull it out and learn and keep it going. Um, so, going back to the comments. Uh, hey, Ginger's in the house. Hey, how are you doing, girlfriend? Yes, many of us have this mindset and need to break out of it. Yeah, mindset. And actually it kind of leads to the next thing on my list. Um, uh, oh, I was just reading. Sharad says he has to go. Good. Thank you for joining. And you can always catch the replay. I'm glad you stopped by though. It was good. It was good to have you here. But yeah, mindset. And so Malcolm said there's an excellent book titled Self Talk that has some great tips for this. That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. Books, podcasts, think about ways in which you consume content, right? We have more things at our disposal than we've ever had before. So if you're not a person that, feels like, oh, reading a book is too overwhelming, audiobooks, right? Or, hey, I don't want to physically go to the bookstore and kind of sift or spend the money. Hey, library, right? So a lot of times there's always a solution. Podcasts, right? They're just YouTube videos. There's so many different ways, but the key is finding something that works, that's helpful for you. And there's a lot of great books that I've put in our Blaxit Global Amazon store that really has helped me mentally prepare. And the reason why I say that's important is because the mental preparation for your move or any goals that you set in life is the thing that you should focus on the most. Because if you think you can or if you think you can't, either way, you're right. It all starts in the mind. And so it leads me to just building off of what Ginger said, mindset. right? Kind of going back to um, the book Atomic Habits. And then he talks about, there's a section in the book where he talks about kind of like identity. When you identify with, you know, people say it all the time. We have to be mindful of the words in which we use. Um, I'm not good at math, or um, I could never, blah, 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 right? When you attach an identity to a behavior or a thought pattern, then or I'm not athletic. I'm not athletic. I'm not a writer. I'm not I'm not whatever. That's when you identify it with. So now you want to give yourself a little bit of distance. If there's something that you want to do, start to language to yourself that you are that thing. And so the question that I want to have for you here in terms of the assessment is, what do you need to do, think, or believe in order to get to the goal you want to accomplish? I'll say that again. What do you need to do, think, or believe in order for you to get to the goal that you want to accomplish? And so that gets all into mindset. Because again, you win the battle of the mind, you've won half the battle, right? And so sometimes when you say, "Oh, wow," let's use the show and the platform, right? We see, whether it's mine or Exodus Summit or all of the wonderful communities out here, our Black Utopia, Black in Portugal, right? We see these other people or on Instagram doing the thing. But again, sometimes we're seeing people's highlight reels. Let's put it in perspective. But at the same time, it might feel like, remember, I was talking about reaching for the brass ring? It might feel too far. So you might say, "Oh, I want to move abroad, but I can't do that until X, Y, and Z." Again, examine it. Is it a real thing, or is it something, a story you're saying to yourself? I can't do this until my A, B, and C. Okay. I could easily say, I can't move abroad because I have an 81-year-old parent who needs me, right? Or two children that's living in the States. But then is that true? Yes, those things are true. But my 81-year-old mother also has two children. I have two siblings, right? Who nominated me for taking everybody else's responsibility, right? Where is that need to be a rescuer coming from? Is that a need to people please? Is that a need for connection and feeling like I'm a rescuer? Where is that coming from? Right? What is the story that I'm telling myself to further that belief? So again, it's deconstructing things to understand, what box is this sitting in and why am I feeling so strongly about it? There might be valid reasons, or there might be stories that you're telling yourself as a protective measure that allows you to stay safe, stay in the familiar. Okay, I don't like being in the United States. Oh my gosh, I can't wait till I move abroad. Oh, I can't stand this. Da, 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 da. Oh, you know what? Just got paid. Let me go to the mall and buy a bunch of stuff that I don't need. Because you know what? It distracts me from this other stuff. But I'm not meeting my goal, which was to save $1,000 or $5,000 this year. What am I doing to sabotage myself, to keep myself safe in the familiar, even if it is to your own detriment? Where does that come from? So when you start to think about the agreements that you make with yourself and understanding the mind, you have to understand, where do you betray yourself? Where do you betray yourself? If you have to go to work 5 days a week, you're going to show up 5 days a week, right? You're not going to say, "Oh, roll out of bed. Screw that damn job. I ain't going back tomorrow. I'll go back when I feel like it." What you think's gonna happen? They're gonna fire you. You're gonna be broke, right? You would never do that. You would never say, oh, dang, I know I got to do this thing. I know I got to pick up these kids from school, but I mean, they're cute. Somebody will give them a ride. You would never do that, right? You'll show up. You'll show up. If you tell somebody else you're going to do something, you're going to show up. So why are you betraying yourself? Because you have to live with yourself. That's the question. So you have to examine where are times where you've betrayed yourself at your and put someone else's needs ahead of your own, or some other thing, work, some other thing that's filling a void, shopping, sex, whatever, right? What are you doing to mask? And so once you're able to take a step back and honestly think about those things, that's how you're going to be able to move forward. That's where you're going to be able to identify, oh, wait a minute. I'm betraying myself. I'm saying I want to do this, but my behavior is doing something quite the opposite. Where is that coming from? Why am I doing that? And how can I be a better person to myself? How can I language something different to myself to soothe the part of me that is feeling a need to fill the void with something else? Again, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's mindfulness, maybe it's walking, but whatever protective measure you need to instill in yourself and belief system, that's what you're going to have to put in. And for some of us, it's foreign because we don't even allow ourselves time, or society that doesn't allow us enough time to do that introspective work. But that is what is going to be important, because it goes back to being clear on your why. Goal setting is great, but why? Why are you doing it? Because it's January and everybody says you're supposed to set a goal? Okay. Guess what? Time is a continuum. It was just like on New Year's Day. I was like, oh, I had a bottle of champagne. I was like, oh, I'm going to stay up, have a little bit, and go to bed. And I was getting tired as hell. I was like, I stayed till 10:30, I think it was, or 11:30. And then I'm like, why am I doing this? Because it's already been New Year's for about 12 hours on the other side of the world. Do I really need to stay up till midnight? So again, like when you start to think about why you're doing something, then you can say, oh, wait a minute, is this working for me or is this not working for me? Am I doing it because I want to do this, or am I doing it because society expects me to do it, or it's celebratory or whatever, right? Sometimes, and I'm speaking of myself, right? We leave, or I've led a life that I felt looked good, but didn't feel good. And what I've realized as I get into this year and the excitement that I feel, it's a return to self. What makes me happy? What were the things that I wanted when I was a little girl growing up in the Bronx before life was lifing, right? What are those dreams, ambitions, skills, talents that I either pursued or lay dormant because of some other factor, either outside of myself or experience that I assumed inside of myself, that is preventing me from getting where I want to be in life. That is the work that has to be done. Okay, so those were the assessment questions. I hope y'all still are rocking with me. Okay, so now when we get to Ginger is saying, she said, say it louder for the people in the back. I was like, this ain't gonna be your everyday goal setting session. Um, so thank you, Kim. You're so sweet. Come through, Krishan. At this point, I do need you to do a check for this group there. Well, look, this channel is monetized. So y'all want to drop some stuff in here? More than welcome. Um, so the thing that I wanted to check here is the mental health piece, right? So let's think about the quadrants. So when you think about your mental health, when you think about what's important for you and to you, um, and goal setting, right? Sometimes we set these goals and we look at a certain thing, right? You might say, oh, like go back to the weight loss, because that one's an easy one that most people kind of have as their like resolution or list. But again, it's like, where do you get stuck? So what are the things that you need to think or do or believe? So when I'm thinking about my goal setting for the year, as of late. This hasn't been something that's I've done all my life, right? This is kind of the evolution that I've been on, is now I've recognized that some of these things fall into kind of four areas. I say five, right? Four. Mental health, none in order, but I think mental health is the one. Spiritual self, and however that comes to life for you. It could be religion, could be spirituality, economics, right? Life functions, we function in this world, we need money. And then the physical, and that could be your physical environment, that could be the physical in your body. And so when you're able to kind of break down a goal and see where it fits in that continuum, then you're able to say, okay, well, if um, my goal is an economic one, right? It's going to say, oh, well, I'm going to, and I know I have one of my trading cousins here. And this is where this is important. So I'll be vulnerable here for a minute. So I had a goal for my move, and I was like, oh, you know what? I want to kind of strengthen my Blaxit fund by trading, right? Need to take a new skill. Okay. So then the mechanics of it was pretty straightforward, to learn. Terry has a great course. And if anybody needs a link, I can drop my link in the comments. Um, and I had success right off the bat. I was really excited. I think like my first 2 weeks, I made my money back and all this other stuff. And then maybe a couple months after that, I had a series of things happen. So I went on my exploratory trip to Costa Rica that did not go well. Um, and then I came back, and maybe 2 days after that, I drove with the dog all the way to Florida to take care of my mom and surprised her while she was recovering from knee replacement. While I was there, prior to my return to Jersey, my sister-in-law passed away unexpectedly. And then maybe a couple of days after that, I had to go with my daughter to go and look at some colleges. And so there was, and then I think the show was still in season. And so, or maybe I was getting ready to record. I can't remember that last part, but there was boom, 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 boom. And there was no time for air. And so what I wound up doing was, oh, let me default to the thing that's making me happy, right? Trading. And so it was like, oh, I'm doing more of it. Well, guess what? The problem was, yes, I was trading more, but I was trading recklessly. So after I was having all of these successes, I had some really bad losses, and it was putting me into a further downward spiral. It was like, oh, I can't believe you did that trade. Why are you so stupid? Da, 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 da. Like downward, right? Reinforcing all the things that were going wrong. And where I should have done was take a step back and not indulge or overindulge or overtrade, but to really assess that, hey, life was really lifing. And instead of me trying to put things into place to distract me, which is my default, that ability to compartmentalize, the world is on fire. I can, kind of carve out, be away from the chaos. That worked until it stopped working. And so it wasn't doing anything and not serving me well. And all the way up until February of 2022, when I had my medical emergency. And that was the thing that kind of snapped me out of it because, when you think you're going to die, you're like, wait a second. I want to live. I want to live. And so it was a way for me to it was the wake up call that I needed at that moment to because when you're laying in a bed and they're telling you they're seeing stuff and they don't know what's wrong with you, that all of the things that were spiraling out of control started to become more clear to me that what I was doing was trying to get rid of the pain that I was feeling that I didn't want to acknowledge that was hurtful. But by doing that, I hurt myself in other ways. I wound up losing more money than I had. I was being more risky in that regard. And so it's like, okay, why am I self sabotaging? I'm self sabotaging because I don't want to acknowledge the fact that I'm feeling very sad about my sister-in-law passing away. I'm, feeling overwhelmed because I've taken on these things while they were good things to do, right? Being a good daughter, going to take care of your mom, things for myself, going on the exploratory trip. I wasn't giving myself enough space to say, how am I taking care of Krishan? And so instead of saying, I need to take a break, instead of saying, I need help, right? It was, you know what? Let me just do this. Let me just do this. And that's what I mean by when you start to set a goal and you say, I want to save $5,000, $10,000 by the end of the year for my Blaxit, mental health, spiritual self, economics, physical. How does your physical environment need to be in order to support you? Do you need to start to take away things that are probably leading to some negative behaviors or put into place more positive, protective things to help you? Is it affirmations? Is it, you know, getting rid of some of the credit cards? Like, what is it? Temptation. We talked about food. Is it saying, hey, you know what? I'm snacking too much. Maybe I need to have Benefiber. Maybe I need to have more, you know, fiber food or whatever it is. That you need to do. Or maybe it is taking time to be mindful or going back to church or whatever that spiritual center is. Maybe it's prioritizing a mental health professional, but a mental health professional that is better suited for your needs. Maybe it is a trauma informed therapist. Maybe it is somebody who specializes in, gambling or eating disorders or whatever that is. But before we go out and we set these goals, well, again, it's great to set a goal. We aren't just one thing at any one time. We're a full self. And so, what I want for myself, what I want for each of you is to be able to have a rich experience when you are moving abroad, when you are living your life. And again, this isn't saying it's going to be a utopia. Shit's going to happen. Okay. Life is still going to life. But I want to give you as much information, as much inspiration to put you in the best possible foot forward, right? To have as much and as many resources in your toolkit, whether it's our community, whether it's someone else's community, whether it's podcast, whatever it is, I want you to have what you need so that you can be whole, whole. Um, Let's see. I'm just looking at the comment. Ginger said, please drop it. Not sure what you're talking about there. Let me know. I have to put myself on mute for 1 second. Just bear with me. Sorry about that. I just had to check on one thing. The link for the trading. Yes, let me do that now. So, because Terry is changing the program, as I mentioned, that was one of the reasons why I was late. So, I think for people who join now, it's probably better than not. Uh, Let me just see. I just have to get my cheat sheet that I have with all of my links for the live that I didn't have up because I was running late. Um, hmm, let's see. Where did I Google Docs? Um, yes. So Terry's program is changing for the better, actually. So I'm excited, and it's been a journey, and as my trading cousin will tell you, it's a journey. But we had our accountability group that we're in. We had a challenge, and her group is Katrina's group is at, I think at 7:30. Mine is at 8, and so we had slightly different challenges. And so for my cohort, it was um, a win loss ratio. So whoever we had a pot, and so whoever had the most wins over losses was able to win the pot. And so I was like, I wasn't necessarily going to participate because I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take a step back from trading, which I am in 2023 because, again, using that example that I was pretty vulnerable with just now, um, it was a lesson that I learned, right? When I said my mom's knee replacement, all these things were going on. And then I was going downhill. And so I said, look, I've got the show to do, I've got the community to serve, I've got my daughter graduate, and I got to move myself to Portugal, right? So I was like, I got to take a step back because this is not going to be me losing money because I'm trying to distract myself from all the stuff that I need to get done. So I wasn't going to participate in the challenge, and I was like, all right, I got one month I can do. Don't y'all know I won the whole damn month, the whole damn thing? 100%. I had 100% win ratio. What? This from the girl who was not 100% at the beginning because she was going down a bad rabbit hole. But I took a step back. I worked on my mentals. And again, where was that coming from? Why was I taking trades that I hadn't planned? Why was I engaging in risky behavior that was undermining what I wanted to do, right? And what I wanted to accomplish. And so now I know I found it now. I'm just waiting for my computer to kind of cooperate because it's like, girl, you need to delete some of these recordings and move them somewhere else. All right, I'm about to put this in the comments. Oh, that came in funky. Why did that? Hang on, let me clean this up a little bit. What all these characters? That's not right. All right, let me try it again. Okay. There's some type of discount that is with this, but honestly, I can't remember. Try it again because for whatever reason, it didn't come up pretty. Came up with this like, that's better. Okay. First time it was like coming up with a whole paragraph, and I'm like, that is not my code. Okay, so I just dropped the Invest with Terry code for you, and you can check out the program. And okay, so Pam says, I want to take my best self abroad. For me, this means facing the ways fear and comparison have mitigated my progress. Wow, that's deep. That's very deep. And thank you for sharing that. So, yes, unpacking where fear and comparison is the thief of joy. Yeah, yeah. It's like it's helpful to understand like where is the fear coming from? Where is this comparison? And sometimes, I was watching or listening to something the other day. We compare ourselves to people or things and we say, I want this thing. And then it's just like, well, where did that story come from? And then do you? Sometimes you say, oh, well, I want this person's life. And money doesn't equate happiness. And so when you're comparing yourself to someone else, comparing yourself to someone else very rarely leaves you feeling good, right? It's usually making you feel from a place of deficiency. And so you have to ask yourself these questions like, why am I doing this? What am I, how do I need to love on myself differently? Right. Because sometimes we'll say, oh, I'm comparing myself to this person's job. Well, it's like, well, do you want that person's job? Right? Like, what is it about the thing that you want? And then sometimes we get the thing that we want. Very often we get the thing that we want. And then it's off to the next thing. That's how humans are wired. So, one thing I want to give you all while you're here is there is a course that I started taking. It's a free course. It is offered by Harvard University, and it is a course on happiness. And I guess when they offered it as part of their main curriculum, it like went through the roof. And then they started offering it free, I think, over the pandemic. And it's rated so well. It's like a I don't even know how many people have rated it. And then shout out to Delianne, the money coach, because she had shared it on her platform, and I had heard it again somewhere else or saw it somewhere else. And I'm definitely a person of signs. And so it was within a couple of days that I had heard it from another source, and I was like, okay, it's free. And I started doing it, and let me tell you, it's powerful. It's around positive psychology. And so what it does is that it breaks down like understanding happiness. And when you understand happiness, and without like giving too much of the course content away, it's not course content, but basically it's a positive psychologist. There's a field of study called for positive psychology. And the gentleman who facilitates the course, he's a PhD, and he talked about what led him down this path was basically understanding that we have scales to assess depression or weight or all of these other things, but we don't have at the time a gauge of how do you rate happiness and what are the components of life that enables one to be happy. Because sometimes people say, oh, well, money. Well, I mean, look at the Kardashians. They got a lot more money than I have, not necessarily happy. Look at Elon Musk. Got all that money, tool, right? So money does not necessarily equate happiness. And so if you think that's the answer, the solution to all the problems, how many people have won the lotto, became millionaires or multimillionaires, and then become broke or unhappy, or multimillionaires and billionaires that lose their family in the process, right? So the course is really, really helpful in asking the deep questions. So it is called, let me go to the course page and I'll drop the link for it. It's a free course on Harvard X. And then if you pay like, I think it's like $125, which I haven't paid. I don't need a certificate, but you actually can get a certificate from Harvard that says that you completed the course. So it is called Managing Happiness. And it's a self-paced course. Let's see, managing free course. So look at that as a way of, examining the deeper layers of what lies beneath. Um, so, with that, like I said, I was hoping everybody came with a pen and paper. And for those of y'all who are watching the replay, um, definitely hope you are getting what you need. And so, as it relates to goal setting and starting to close this out, um, if anyone feels like they're willing to share a goal for their year or their move, now that I've kind of shared this framework, so be okay, feel okay, and not put on the spot. If you're like, okay, Sean, you done took us way deeper than I wanted to go. I need to like deep dive with this and then come back to you. Quite all right. Like, be feeling that it's okay. Um, but if you feel like you have a goal that you want to share, um, go for it. Go for it. Y'all know my big goal is moving to Portugal this year, right? So it's a big goal. It's a lofty goal, and thankfully we have our accountability group in Black's Global Passport. Um, we are meeting next week. It's next Thursday. So it's, oh Lord, my phone. I think I disappeared on y'all. Did I disappear? Because I can't see me. Let me see. Hang on. Stand by. I think I disappeared on y'all. Ah, I did. Did I disappear on you? Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can y'all still see me? I think you can. I think it still says I'm live. I had to switch the camera because I think my other one just decided it was no longer participating. Okay. So I had to switch back to my computer camera because, oh, you can see me? Okay. Yes. Thank you. Because it was like, bye, girl. I digress. I have to remember where to look now. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So as we start to, yes, I did disappear. Yeah, that's what I thought because I was like, I don't see me anymore. So if I can't see me, I think you can't see me. But now I'm back. So yeah, so where was I going with my train of thought? Oh gosh, I got sidetracked. Um, so goal, that's right. Accountability check-ins, accountability group. Um, there was something else. Oh, DW said the camera said bye, Felicia. It sure did. It was like, you done said enough deep stuff for today, girl. Click. So, well, the funny thing is that when I go live, and that was one of the reasons why I was late, because I used my phone, and then I have like this kind of setup, which is why it went from HD to like my crappy Mac camera, which is not as great resolution. And so I don't know if my phone overheated or what. It's never happened before, but it was just like, bye, girl. Um, but so I wanted to talk about, before I forget, because I just looked at my notes and realized I did not mention. A couple of y'all might remember a few months ago, I did a YouTube live with Leroy Adams, who is a podcaster and he's also the founder of the Buddy Pass magazine. The Buddy Pass magazine is live, y'all. It's fit to print. And so y'all get a 35% off discount on the print and digital issue with the code BG35. And so there's links to that. I'll put them in the description of this video for those that are watching in the future or who had to leave and want to come back. But I did share it on the Blaxit Global Facebook page, Instagram, and in the groups. So definitely take advantage of that. Let's support. It's a beautiful magazine, beautifully done. Let me see if I can share my screen. Let's see how much my my computer's going to cooperate. Let me see if I can pull up one of a few of the images that I shared because it's absolutely gorgeous. Let me close out of this as being mindful. But it's absolutely gorgeous what he's done. And, if you're a writer and you want to contribute to the magazine, this is your opportunity. Definitely feel free to reach out to him. He's so great to work with. And I'm so proud of him. This is huge for the Black travel community. We do not have a publication dedicated to our stories, our voices. And so, what I love about what we've been able to do as a community is that we're all playing to our strengths and we support one another. So, like Shar is, the creator and founder of the expat app, right? So she's leading the charge on the tech side. I'm giving my inspiration through things that feel right for me and Blaxit Global. Sheeta and Stephanie are doing what their thing in their own, in their own platform. I'm trying to share my screen and I think I'm messing up. And now we have, uh, okay, I'm trying to share my screen. And now we have Eroy. Let's see if this is going to work. Oh, dang. I don't think it's going to work. Yeah, because it's not a window. Darn it. All right. Apologies. I was trying to see if I could pull it up from my desktop, but let me see. No, because it's going to make y'all go away, and I don't want y'all to go away. Okay. So we're just going to say, check out those posts because they have beautiful pictures. The cover of it says, America, I'm out, or I think it's like America, Wait Out. It's beautifully done. The articles are spot on. You might see a couple of familiar faces in there, not mine. I won't give it away of who is in there, but there's a lot of great content. And again, I think it's, I don't want to quote the price for the year. So, because I'll misquote it and I'll say, well, Sean said this. No, just go to the link. The information is there. You get an awesome discount. So I did not want to forget that. Definitely support, right? We have a Black owned business. We want this to succeed. We want the travel community to support. And this is an opportunity for you. Like, you go and move abroad and you want to showcase and tell your story, right? This is part of our extended ecosystem, not ours being Blaxit Global, but our Black travel community. So I did not want to lose sight of that. Okay, so let me head back up to the comments. And I did see someone who dropped their Winnie said, I will be journaling and writing my shorts to sell. Yay! Congratulations. That's awesome. That is awesome. For me, I started journaling, and so I've been committing to myself to journal before I go to bed because remember, habit stacking. I have to go to sleep. So now when I get in bed, instead of my habit, which is, oh, let me look online real quick before I go to bed, now I'm saying, nope, before I go to bed, right? I get into bed, the journal's right there, the pen's there, I journal. And then I go to bed. So, Orletta says, goal, Freeport scouting trip in September. Orletta, awesome. Love it, love it, love it. I love it, right? It's specific. It's saying, when, right? September. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And so even as you think about, what else do you need to do for that? Maybe you want to put away a certain amount of money for that, etc. Patricia was leaving. It was good. It was good. It was good seeing you. Hey, my brother's in the house. Hey, Damone D. Wright is in the house. Let's see. He said when he says 29.99 America, I'm out. Okay. And then with the discount, right, it's 35% off of the full price. It's 35% off with the code. Um, Again, why are the spammers be spamming? Malcolm says, goal. I'm Portugal 2023 Blaxit. Yes, you are, my friend. Malcolm is in not only our men's group, but in our accountability group. That's a big ticket item. Relaunching retreat and coaching business. That's awesome. Looking for a coach for this, by the way. If there's any recos in the community, there you go. Put it out there. So if you know of a coach, a specific coach, or if Malcolm wants to be specific on the type of coach he's looking for, definitely reach out, because I think, again, that's like how we grow as a community, how we start to change the narrative, how do we start to think about, getting rid of stereotypes and also breaking generational curses, right? We can oftentimes think about, oh gosh, we don't come together as a people and da da da. Like, we're not going to be able to change like every Black person on earth, nor is that our mission, right? But we can change ourselves and how we want to show up, right? So if your heart is inclined to help in this way, then this is how you can do it. It's just like with that article with Condé Nast, right? I could have easily reached out to other communities or highlighted people that have, the usual suspects, but I was deliberate and intentional, right? Why? Because that's how we change. This is how you affect change. We think that change for ourselves or bigger change, societal change, has to be these monumental shifts. But again, compound interest, right? How does that one pebble make a ripple? So want to support you in that, and let me know how we can. Black business coach in the travel community. All right. He's put it out there. Thank you. Circle back with our brother Malcolm. So Pamela says, goal number 2, save regularly for my scouting trip to Mexico. Okay. Awesome. Oh, I didn't do it in order. I just realized that. Sorry, Pam. Step 1, identify and implement habits that bring my goals to fruition incrementally over time. Love that. Goal number 1, regular early morning co-working to get massive writing completed in the next several months. Okay, great. Okay, now another thing you can do is break that down a little bit further, right? Several months. So you might want to say, hey, do you want to hit a certain goal by whatever, the end of Q1, middle of the year? But that's great. I love that as a starting point. And you said goal number 2 was to save regularly for my scouting trip to Mexico. So to take that a step further, develop what that budget is for that trip to Mexico, and then either how much you already have earmarked or need to save towards, and draw a line in the sand and say, okay, this is how much money. Best thing you can do, we talked about it at the top, is put systems in place. So automation is going to be your friend, right? So whether it's setting it up so that you have an automatic diversion from one account to the other, or if you're on a payroll, to have them take that amount and put it into an account, right? So you already know it's earmarked. Or if you're really disciplined, you can do it manually. But again, I think you want to, anything, especially when it comes to money, the things that you can put on autopilot become your fail safe, right? Because then it's not like, oh, let me just move that money to do something else that I didn't commit to. What's worked for me with my new trading discipline is when I have a win, that money goes out of my account and it gets reinvested into something else. Buying long-term positions, not trading. And so that has removed the temptation of having too much in my account and then risking more than I'm comfortable with. Anytime I win, whoop, it goes into the account where I can't touch it. So again, just to the extent that you can start to create these systems in place, that's how you're going to get your wins. Awesome. I love it. Um, I think, Winnie had said, I think this is in response to the journaling comment. Do it before you go to bed. Yeah, that's how it's been working for me. Because, I know in the morning, can sometimes be a little irregular. But from at night, then I can like kind of decompress and it's been helping me sleep better too. But Esther talks about it in her episode of the podcast. She does the opposite. She does morning pages. And that's a great practice as well. And so I offer for you to try either, see which one works for you. Pam also said, step 3, continue biweekly Spanish classes in perpetuity. And thanks for the tips on how to make goals more concrete. Thank you. And thank you for bringing a goal that I need to put to practice is my Portuguese with Carla. I was doing really well and had some wild because you kind of there was, I know she's changed some aspects of it, but there were certain parts of the course that were graded and I was like doing really well. And then I kind of like stopped being as consistent, but then I started picking up just doing the drills every day. I don't do the curriculum every day, but I am consistent with doing drills. And so you reminded me that that is a goal that I should pick back up, is to commit to doing one lesson. And one of the things that I talked about setting realistic goals is for me, and I offer this to you, right? It may be better to start small and build your confidence and say, okay, I can commit to, like for me, I said, okay, one lesson. There's 7 days in a week, but I know if I say, oh, I'm going to do it every day, it's a good possibility that that's not going to happen. But if I say one lesson, right, I know I can find time for one. And then when you do it with a level of consistency, then you're going to say, oh, you know what? I can do two, right? It's kind of like doing the walk around the block with the dog. Oh, wow, one. Okay, that went fast. Oh, you know what? I've got 5 more minutes. Or, hey, cleaning the house. Instead of saying, oh, I gotta clean this whole house, I'm gonna do a room or I'm gonna do this one activity for a few minutes, right? So to the extent that we can start to break things down in that framework, it'll allow us to get some wins under our belt, build that confidence muscle that we were talking about, right? You don't start off saying, oh, I'm gonna lift 100 pounds, right? You start with a 5 pound or 2 pound weight and you build that muscle because after a while, that 2 pound weight is really light. And you give the 5 pound weight. Oh, okay. After a while, a couple weeks, then that's light. The next thing you know, you gradually have increased it. And again, it's compound interest. So hopefully that helps. Ah, Winnie, you're so sweet. Thank you. Winnie said, don't forget to like this live. Yes, please like the live. And if you're here for the first time, please subscribe to the channel. I definitely want to grow this channel and be more consistent as I make my journey. Can't promise that it will be this year because I got a lot going on. But once I'm in Portugal, I will have less things on my plate. And so with that, I will. All right, so I've had y'all for about 2 hours now, and so I know you're probably ready to get and enjoy whatever rest of your day it's been. So I hope you found this information and this framework for goal setting really helpful. Like I said, probably deeper than you thought it was going to be, but hopefully this will enable you to dissect, and do that assessment, right? Those questions, and I'll recap them actually now that we're closing out. So we said SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. That's the acronym that most people know. But the assessment questions are: what has prevented you from achieving goals in the past? What has worked for you in setting goals? What do you need to do? I always trip on that because I'm looking at my notes. Um, what do you need to do, think, or believe in order to get the goal that you want to accomplish? So those are the three questions that I want you to take away in and from this. And then in terms of the houses, right, as you think about goal setting, think about your mental health, your spiritual self, your any economic goals or that you want to set, and the physical, whether it's your physical environment, your body. I want you to think about it in that framework, in those components, because if you think about your goals in terms of the whole self, you are more likely to succeed. And then, if you're in an accountability group, you have an even higher rate of success because now you have a community of people who can cheer you on or who can support you as you are growing and evolving. And so with that, I offer you all the opportunity and invitation to join us either as a channel member of Blaxit Global on YouTube or become a member of our Blaxit Global Passport community. You'll see all of the wonderful content I post on a daily basis. You'll get to partake in all of our wonderful workshops on everything from expat taxes, like I mentioned, the accountability check-ins, our men's group that's coming back. We have workshops on more goal setting, finances, etc. And so it's been a pleasure. Profess LCH. Hey, she's been half listening. It's okay. I love it. But you'll check the replay. Love it. Love it. So definitely want to thank you all for carving out time out of your day. I think I'm going live again next week um, with a very special guest. I'll announce it sometime next week because I want to make sure the very special guest has been waiting for a long time to see y'all. And I'll just hint it now. I might as well just say it. So, my daughter we want to do a live. I think some of y'all who have children have been wondering about making the move when you have children, and my children aren't coming with me. And so I wanted us to like get on here and, kind of talk about how we've evolved and gotten to a good place. And so it's more of working on me being comfortable with sharing my baby with y'all, but not with y'all specific. It's, once you put it on the internet. but but I think it's going to be next week. So fingers crossed. But if it's a definite, we will do it. So thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you for all the kind words. And like I said, check out the article in Condé Nast, and I'll see you soon. Listen to Blaxit Global Podcast. Bye.